Remember how I told you in previous episode that this couple of weeks hasn't been my best? Well, it really hasn't, but it did bring me to a lot of thinking. Stay tuned. Well, hello there everyone. It's your boy JJ, and we're here for another episode of This Adult Thing, the podcast where we feel and grow together. Whether you just got here or you've been with me from the beginning, you're very welcome to this new episode. Thank you for taking your time to spend some time with me. I really appreciate it. So yeah, new episode. Um so during the Christmas season, I was in Virginia for like a couple of days, for I think maybe 3 days, and I didn't go with my mom. So it was like my uncle and yeah. So my family. We were there and we stayed there for a couple of days. We were coming back in the car. I'm sitting like with my uncle, and everyone else is in the car. We're doing like the road trip back to North Carolina because I was in North Carolina at the time. And he just looks, we're like discussing, we're talking, and he looks towards me and he's like in the chillest way possible, like in the I don't know. He's like, your mom had an accident. And that's crazy. I got a nervous laugh because I can't even like really tell how I felt at that moment. Just him saying those words, because I just felt like shook, because it's not something you ever want to hear. It's never something you want to hear. And I remember just like looking down and like trying to like process it. And I don't know if he did it on purpose, because he just said your mom had an accident and didn't say anything after that. Because I was like, what? Like, I don't, what happened? Like, all these questions start flooding in. And I'm an overthinker. So I'm like, oh my God, what happened? Like, is she okay? It's like, whew. Yeah, it got me thinking. Like, since I started doing this thing, mostly everything, I kind of see it like in a, how can I talk about this way? Not like I always want to just make content, but like how can I talk about, like, I see stuff like topics at this point. Like if something so generic happens, but this is not generic, so yeah. I don't know if you get what I mean. But I was like, I need to talk about this. And it got me thinking about how ungrateful I could have been. Because at that moment, I'm like, he just said she had an accident. Something much worse could have happened, because she had like bruises and she had to get stitches and stuff. But she was okay. But thank God, thank God. But something much worse could have happened. What if it did? If it did, then could I have been able to say that I told her all that I needed to tell her, like how grateful I am for all that she does? Or, because at that moment, everything like started spiraling in my head, and you start thinking about these things, and it's like, you actually see, like, I'm gonna be real. It's hard to talk about this, but like, I want to talk about it. So like, talking about something actually makes you see what you're feeling. I don't know if that makes sense. It makes you like see it in front of you, you know? So at that moment, I actually kind of imagined what it would be like without her, like if something had happened, because at that moment he just told me she had an accident. So it was all these thoughts, and I saw how difficult my life could have become if something had happened to her, like all by myself, no one, like, all that stuff. And it just made me see how much more valuable she is to me. But my mom and I, like, I've listened to podcasts with similar topics to this, to podcast episodes with like these kind of topics, and people are like, oh my God, um, I'd be devastated, all that stuff. And at that moment, I'm gonna be real. I have an up and down relationship with my mom. That's probably gonna be the episode title. And it made me feel so ashamed and so like resentful that at that moment, the first thing I didn't like start crying or something, or like start, I didn't know what to feel at that moment. It made me feel bad that I didn't know what to feel. And in this type of situations, you would expect someone to like start bawling out or like start saying something. I don't know, like just feel sad. But at that moment, I just had a straight face. I looked down and I was like, damn. And it scared me. It scared me. Cause why didn't I automatically feel like those other guys? Like, why isn't that the first thing that came to me, that came to mind, that I started feeling? Cause why didn't I automatically feel like those guys? And don't get me wrong, I felt sad. It's my mom. But the thing is, I suppressed that. Like, immediately he told me, I felt bad. I felt so sad. It's my mom. She was in an accident. But then I tried to suppress that. I tried to be like, I just, in the moment, maybe even unconsciously, I just like swallowed it and just had a straight face. And I don't know, but maybe that stems from me trying to be a people pleaser and trying to make other people feel good because I didn't want to kill the mood in the car. So I just didn't like, you know, I'm not saying I had to start bawling out, but like I just swallowed it. I'm probably going to talk about this in another episode. But right now, I want to talk about our relationships with our parents. And in my experience, in my context, my mom and I, like I said in like the first episode, I've moved a lot. And so I haven't always lived with her. I've lived 18 years on this earth, and I've probably lived like maybe like less than 10 years with my mom. Let's say 7 to 10 years or something. And like I also said in the first episode, I'm grateful for like the life I've lived, the experiences I've had. Not moving that much, I wouldn't be who I am today. So I'm grateful for that. And I also realized, because at some point, you like complain. Being a kid, I was always like, oh my God, blah, 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 all that stuff. But at this point, I see the bigger picture, and it was just circumstances. It was just circumstances. Like my mom had to work, and her work made her like travel all around the world, and she couldn't always. And I'm kind of glad that she didn't do that because that would have been worse, having to travel from country to country. Like human nature, you always want what you don't have. You always want that. And someone that maybe has lived with their parents their whole life will be like, "Oh, I wouldn't mind that." But like me looking at that from like my perspective, I'm fine with traveling all around the country, not having to travel all around the globe, like going from this school to that school in different countries. That would have like devastated me. So I'm glad she did not do that. I'm grateful that things went the way they did. So her job always made her travel. So apart from the times where I live with her, cause I'd like live with her, go to Anon, come back, go to Anon, like in different cities. So apart from the times where I live with her, I'd only see her like during vacations. Sometimes I'd stay like 5 or like 3 years without seeing her. And that's definitely a different dynamic. When I was younger, I saw that as normal, but normal is subjective. So it was what it was. And it made it into this family dynamic where my mom is like a very strong woman. When I was younger, I'm gonna make this corny. When I was like younger, I would like look up to her. Like she was doing all these great things, traveling to all these places, and I looked up to her. And at some point, it kind of started feeling like intimidation. Cause mind you, I'm a kid. I don't see her that much. So even though I know it's my mom, in my head somewhere, she starts to feel like a stranger. At some point, she's gonna listen to this, but I'm just gonna say my stuff. Like, we're working on it, so yeah, I'm gonna finish the episode. So, yeah, at some point, she kind of started feeling distant. Cause, well, not distant, like she was trying to be distant from me, but like the dynamic. You see someone for just short periods of times, you can't take much from that. And so, it was like, you know, sometimes it always felt like I was meeting her for the first time. Like, gotta stay composed, gotta like be at attention and all. And I know you're not supposed to feel like that around your parents, so that was my norm. And sometimes, like, obviously, my mom loves me, and she'd be like, "You don't have to be that uptight when you're around me. I'm your mom." But that's just I was a kid, so yeah. That's just how my mind worked at the time, and the circumstances didn't help. It was no one's fault. But I don't know. I don't know if you guys get what I'm saying. Like, do you ever feel like that? Like, you feel like your parents are distant? I'm just gonna say that for lack of a better word. Because I was gonna say strangers, but that sounds way more worse. So, yeah, let's go with distant. But if you get what I mean, then yeah, that's like that's how I felt. And I also started to notice this recurring pattern where it was like every time she was around, I'd lose my shit. Like, not like go crazy, but like I lose my composure. Not like in a dramatic way, but I just mess stuff up. I just like start messing up. I'd like lose my concentration. Do you ever feel like this? Cause it's hard to word out. It's really hard to word out, but I hope I'm making as much sense as possible. And I started noticing it when I got older. And an example is, you know how I said before I used to live by myself? And although I can be messy sometimes, I like to think of myself as a somewhat organized person. Like, I'm really organized. Like, you can ask anyone. Real talk. And so I live by myself. I go to school in the morning, like at 7, come back. I'd clean the house, clean my place before going to school, come back. I have to go to the market, go buy stuff to cook, come back, cook, take my stuff, put them in bags and like Ziploc bags or like bowls and put them in the fridge, wash my stuff, wash my dishes, wash my do my laundry by hand. Yeah, before we didn't have a machine, but they brought the machine later, but still. And like clean the place again, sleep. I was doing all that stuff. I was doing all that stuff by myself. Like I lived by myself and I was doing a good job at it. I felt like I was doing a good job. I didn't like forget my keys somewhere or something. Like it was okay. So I was proud of myself. Like I was a messy kid at some point. Yeah, I was a messy kid. So being able to like always have my stuff organized, you can ask my friends. Always having my stuff organized. My room is like squeaky clean all the time, blah blah blah, all that stuff. I was proud of myself. I was proud I was able to like manage all of that. So Mind you, my mom came back from abroad and immediately I started fumbling, losing money. Um, what else did I do? I think I broke a plate. You know, like could be trivial stuff, but the big one, like the crazy one, was we had to travel to another city, Yaoundé, the capital, and we took the bus. So when we get off, she was like telling me, "Oh, don't forget your laptop. Don't forget your laptop. Don't leave it in the bus." Cause I was like watching All American on it. So we leave the bus station, like the bus stops. We leave the bus station, go to our hotel, and we're like chilling. And she asked me, "Did you bring your brush and your like towel?" And I'm like, "Oh my god, I forgot." See, first thing, I forgot my brush and my towel. Me who was getting so on top of things, and then I'm like, okay, let me watch something. I look around and I don't see my laptop. Oh my god, guys, I lost it. My head almost blew up. I was like looking at my mom, like soulless, like I didn't know what was going on. I wanted to start asking like, what is wrong with me? And she was like, "Oh my god, how can you lose your laptop?" Like, typical parent reaction. And she's like, uh, she was so nice for that though. She like it was in the middle of the night. It was like past midnight, and she got in like a taxi, went back at the bus station, and brought back the laptop. Like something could have happened to her. That was nice of her. Thank you, mom. But that's actually when it started spinning in my head. Like, what is happening to me? What is wrong? And I started like putting pieces together and realizing what the common factor was. My mom. But I'm not saying my mom was making me lose my shit and like I need to run away from my mom or something. I love my mom. Whatever, corny. Yeah. I'm not saying that was it. The problem was me. And is this thing, I don't know if it's a normal thing because like you kind of hear it, you kind of see it in movies, but it's not like blatant. But I realized that the problem was me putting my mom, like I admire my mom. I love my mom. Whatever. And I was trying so hard to meet expectations that like I fumbled and I messed up because I was thinking so much like what would she think? What would we like what can I do? Blah blah blah. All of that. And it made me fumble. It's almost like you meet your favorite celebrity and like you're like meeting Ariana Grande or like Kanye um sorry for that. Or like no. Who? Who else? Drake? Who? Is everyone just controversial at this point? Meeting Rema. Oh my god. Whatever, meeting your favorite celebrity and losing your shit. And you're like, oh my god. And you like just go crazy. And then you start like being clumsy. I don't know if you guys get what I mean. Like, if you actually get what I mean, please tell me I'm not crazy because it's something I noticed after thinking about it a lot. And that's the point where I started really thinking about it. I wanted to meet her expectations so bad that every single critique she gave, I took it like 5 times more than what it was. And I fumbled. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know. But it was just me trying to do too much. And also, I feel like my mom, from not seeing me, she always had like this kid version of me in her head. So she'd always be like, "Oh, you're messy, blah blah blah, all that stuff." Yeah, like the normal parent ranting, like, "Oh, you need to stop being messy" and all that stuff. And then when you hear it so much, you forget that it's something you've actually been working on, and you forget all the milestones you've done, like all the progress you've made, and you start fumbling all over again. And it was because I had put her opinion, or for lack of a better word, at such a high spot, and I wasn't thinking of like me. I don't know if you get what I mean. I'm trying to make it make as much sense as I can. This is like me being the most eloquent because I'm not good with my words, like putting my feelings into words because I don't process my feelings that much. And I'm definitely working on that. And this is like me working on it. So yeah. Please tell me if you get what I mean. I'd appreciate that. Like I don't know if I did a good job explaining that, but that's how I felt. And I feel like it was also me going into baby mode. Like not seeing her for a long period of time, her coming, she's my mom. I just feel like she's gonna handle everything. Like I said, I used to see her like this superhuman. Like I feel like that's something every kid goes through. You always see your parent as you don't humanize them. That's something I actually heard in a recent podcast. Like I didn't humanize her. I've even up to now, like my mom has a life. It's crazy to me when she starts telling me stories. Like I didn't know anything about my mom's past, and at that point, being a kid, I didn't really ask her that much, and I feel bad for that. I'm doing better now, but then I didn't know nothing. I just knew that she was this woman that knew how to do everything. So when she was around, I just forget that I'm my own person and I have to take care of myself. And I guess that was me growing up. Like that's a like transitionary moment. That's what this podcast is about. So I had to start thinking for myself. Like when you're asked something and you run to go ask your mom first before giving an answer. I had to start like using my own head even when my mom is around. And so all of what I just spoke about mixed together kind of made this dynamic between us where we spoke, but we didn't really speak. We always scratched the surface because I didn't feel comfortable enough talking to her. It's sad, but that's what it was. And it's getting better. So at that time, I didn't feel comfortable talking to her because she was always busy and she was always far away. And as I said before, I was this kid who just didn't want to get in trouble and just always did what I was told. So I didn't really have conversations with her. It was pretty much her telling me stuff and me agreeing or disagreeing. That was just it. It wasn't like two-way streams. It was like we always just scratched the surface, if you get what I mean. And so all of this kind of brought us to this place where we didn't really know each other. So when my uncle tells me she's had an accident, and I'm like, there's so much we haven't spoken about. There's so much I haven't asked her. There's so much she hasn't told me. There's so much I haven't said to her. I didn't tell her I love you enough. I didn't do anything for her. And she did so much for me. And even me just thinking then, how would my life be if she wasn't there? Like, I don't work yet. I don't go to college yet. Where am I going to start? What am I going to do? You know? And even though I haven't had like the most lavish life, I'm grateful for the one I have. Some people don't even have stuff to call their own. So at that point, I just realized so much. And I like turned around and looked at him and asked him like, is she okay? Cause mind you, I hadn't asked him. My head was just my mind was just going on and on and on. And then I asked him, is she okay? And he's like, oh, she's okay. Oof, oof. Deep breath, relief. Then he tells me, she's okay. She had to get stitches and they were hit by a drunk driver or something. And I was so relieved. I won't even begin to explain how relieved I was. It felt like God was giving me a second chance to be able to do it all over again. To be able to like do all the stuff I thought of. So, even if I sometimes had mixed feelings in regard to the subject, even if I resented at some point the circumstances, I was like, I have to do better because she's still my mom, no matter what happened. And in my case, I only have her. My dad's never been there. He's living his life with his family. This is my family right here, and I'm neglecting that. So that's how I felt at the moment. And if you were waiting for a sign, this is your sign to go tell your mom or your dad that you really love them. Because after all of this, after we arrived, after we came back home, we started speaking more, like person to person. And I started actually realizing that she's just a person. She's just a human being. Your parent is just a person. Sink that in, like sit down, sit it out, sink it into your soul because I had to. I felt like I had to because even though it's not a shock, it's kind of like a shock, a shocker. Cause like, what do you mean my parent wasn't just placed there to like take care of me and figure everything out? What do you mean she doesn't know what she's doing? What do you mean she makes errors? It was crazy. I obviously knew all of this. I obviously knew it, but at the top of like at the surface level of my head, it actually had to sink in when we spoke and she was like she feels bad for everything that happened. She feels bad for not being there. Like she thought she was doing what was best for me. Like she wanted to provide. But she overlooked the relationship she could have had with me during those years. And like I said, and I said it to her, I totally do not resent any of what happened to me. I'm here because of what I went through. I'm who I am today because of what I went through. I'm so like diverse in my thinking because I've been in so many different backgrounds and I love that about myself. I love that. I could say that. Like it's okay to say that. I love that about myself. And that would have never happened if what happened didn't happen. And it's circumstances. No one can control it. But it made me feel good that she acknowledged it. Because at some point you feel like your parents don't care. I always felt like she didn't care about what happened or what I thought and everything. But she actually did. And she actually thought about it. And she actually listened to what I had to say. And that's pretty much all I needed. I feel like that's what I needed at that time. So we didn't need to go through an accident for that to happen. And this is me telling you, you don't need to wait for that moment to happen before you try talking to your parents. Like, I started asking her questions and she started telling me all these stories about her life. These stories I didn't know of. Like how she used to be a little trouble when she was a kid. I didn't know any of this. And this is your sign. This is me telling you, you don't need to wait till then because you never know. You really never do. And you don't get second chances at this. Like, I feel like that was my second chance, but it really wasn't. Like, if something happened, it happened. So, you really just get one chance. And I'm really lucky and grateful that at least my parent felt resentful. And that's really all I needed. That she acknowledged it. That's all. Like we can work towards it. We can work towards building that relationship. There's no lost foundation to that. But I just felt like she didn't care, but now I know she does. And I know that there's other parents that might be too proud for that or might not understand yet. But at some point they might, and you just gotta leave the door open for them to be able to, or like just walk up and go talk to them. It's like literally your parent. But yeah, sometimes circumstances are far worse than the ones I've lived through. So if you're in a worse circumstance that I went through, I feel for you. And you're gonna find your own path. You're gonna find your own truth. Like, this is where I'm at right now. And I feel like it's just gonna get better from here. So you just gotta make your own story. This is mine. Corny. It's like in my favorite book. Dreams from My Father by Barack Obama. I still haven't finished it, but it's still my favorite. So there's this part where, Barack Obama, his father wasn't really in his life, and his father, like, used to be all proud and stuff, and so they never really spoke. So Barack Obama, Mr. Barack Obama, sorry, kind of got distant from his father. His father is from Kenya. So he didn't know stuff about his father. He didn't build that relationship with his father because his father was so proud, and so like he felt like his, well, I don't think he felt like, but you get what I mean. So then his dad died. And in the book, he's like, he felt bad. Like when he went to his dad's grave in Kenya, he felt bad that he didn't, that there was so much stuff they could have talked about. There was so much stuff that like they didn't do together because they didn't have that conversation. They didn't like take it to the next step. And so that was his circumstances. There's really nothing you can do. Like really nothing. But if you can do something, do it. So I'm not gonna sit here, like I say this every time, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you, oh, do this, go run a marathon, go jump over a bridge. And like it's not always gonna work, but that's like how my story went. And I'd like to hear yours too. So you guys definitely like the Instagram at this adult thing 1T, Twitter this adult thing 1T, email is this adult thing 2T's. The Instagram has an underscore at the end, I think. Yeah, those are the socials. You guys should definitely tell me about your own situations. Like, how is the dynamic? How is it? How can you improve it? How's stuff going on? And if you really can improve it, like if you've tried, the key word in this is try. Trying. If you've tried and it really isn't going anywhere, then there's nothing you can do. But just trying is gonna relieve you from so much regret. And we hate regret. We don't want that. I hate regret. Please. So yeah, that's just it. I'm glad that I didn't regret anything. I mean, like, there's so much more, but I'm glad that in this aspect, I was able to like at least get further into the relationship, or into like the relationship with my mom. That's my perspective on it. That's how I went through it. And you guys should tell me what you think. You guys should tell me about yours, and I'd love to hear all of it. I love to hear like everything. And you guys should definitely tell me. I don't know. This episode kind of felt serious, but I'm laughing. So, like I said, I don't want the dynamic of the podcast, the whole podcast, to always be gloomy and sad. Like, if we need to be sad, we're going to be sad. But if we have to laugh and be goofy, we will. It's a free world. Yeah. And I got you. Like, I got you at whatever mood you're feeling. If you're feeling sad, if you're feeling gloomy, if you're feeling nothing, because sometimes you just feel nothing, there's something for you in here. Like, I'm not bragging, not to brag, I'm not, but there's something for you in here, definitely. Because in the first episode, I talk about my friend group, in air quotes, not being there for me when I was down. This is totally unrelated. When I was feeling down and like stuff wasn't going my way, and I was like always at home in bed all day. There were some days that I would stay in bed for like 24 hours. They were not there because I wasn't a fun guy. Like I wasn't jovial. I wasn't inviting them to my place to skip class and have fun. No, I was just sad, and they couldn't sit with me in the sadness like some of my real friends did. And I want to be that real friend for you. Like I got everything for you. I don't want this podcast to be like monotone, like just because it's this adult thing, it has to be serious, serious, serious. That's what I don't want. Like you can, if you want a serious adult podcast, you can go next door. I think they have something there for you. Or if you want like a kitty podcast, it's over there. Or a gag podcast. Like there's enough podcasts on this app. So mine is just gonna be what it is. Yeah. I want to be that friend for you. So now I'm working towards bettering the relationship with my mom, and we're living together now. So it's never too late. It really never is. And if you guys want, I'll keep you updated. Like you guys just leave everything in the Q&A section, the comment section. Like just I'll go through everything. So thank you guys so much for listening. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. This is fulfilling. Like just talking. Like I said, I'm not good at expressing my feelings and even feeling my feelings. So being able to do this is kind of relieving because I kind of put my feelings on the table and feel them. So thank you for like listening and letting me do this. And if you're new, please stick along. We have more for you. There's more episodes everywhere. Like, do what you want. Thank you for listening. Have a nice day. God bless you. And see you in the next one.